Hi guys, and welcome to the Lowland League Catchup. Today it's myself and Mozza again.
Hi, how you doing, folks? Yeah, as far as I remember, it's now the Geosonic Lowland League catch-up, was it not?
Well, welcome to the Geosonic Lowland League Catchup. No, obviously the league's got a new sponsor, which is fantastic news. I don't know how much that affects us, Mozza. I don't know if it will change, obviously, but just a bit of feedback from the previous episode. If you didn't notice, we are now on iTunes as well as our regular places of YouTube and SoundCloud. So really, really good. Obviously, people have wanted us to be in iTunes for quite a while, so it's good that we're on there now. Let's get straight into the results, Mozza. The weekend's fixtures, obviously, quite a few interesting ones from an action-packed weekend again.
We're starting off with Friday night then?
Yep. Yeah.
Let's do it. So, Cumbernauld, Colts and Spartans at Broadwood. And the champions did what they had to do again. Managed to get 3 points. Colts 0, Spartans 2 in the end. Is there anything in particular you picked out from that, mate?
Jack Smith having another great game. Obviously, when I said obviously when I saw him against Dalby, he didn't really particularly play well, but he's still he's just a fantastic player. So, Jamie Dishington, obviously he's came from the sort of Spartans Academy, came up from there. I think he's only been in the first sort of team the last sort of few seasons, but I heard he was sort of causing the Colts all sorts of trouble, so that's really great. Obviously, so one of the academy players, obviously coming into the first team and really doing well.
Yeah.
So Jack Smith opened the scoring within 8 minutes, as from Jamie Dishington pass, as I sort of mentioned earlier. Jack Smith, he almost got his second, but unfortunately it was stopped by Richard Kirwan, the Colts defender, for a penalty. David Greenhill, another guy, I heard he has had an excellent game, obviously more of a experienced player, but he got the penalty to make it 2-0, and it looked like the Colts had to handle a lot of pressure from Spartans within the game, but a decent victory from Spartans against a good Colts team that we've obviously mentioned quite a lot, so excellent win over in Broadwood for Spartans.
Yeah, it's never easy to go and get an away win, especially in getting a clean sheet as well. And that's one thing that Spartans are becoming well known for these days. A really solid defence and grinding out the results. So that's the way you win a league.
We've got an interview with Colts co-manager Craig McKinley, and he's speaking to Rhys Fleming.
It was an unfortunate day for your team. How do you think your team played today?
We started poorly, we were a bit sloppy, and against good sides you just can't afford to do that. Spartans are a good side, obviously they're the champions with good reason. So they made it hard for us. First half was difficult, and they moved it about pretty comfortably, and we found it hard, and to be quite honest, it probably could have been worse come half time. So the second half was better. Which obviously we were relieved at, and the lads kept going, to be fair to them. But that was the first half that really hurt us.
So is there any kind of lesson from this match that you want to improve upon in your future games?
I think we showed a bit of resolve. I think we've started the season pretty well in terms of we've had the difficult games that we've had, and we've got three wins out of 4. Yes, that's the fifth game, which is another defeat, which is disappointing. But we take the positives from the start we've had. There've been difficult ties, and there's a lot of new lads in there. We've got a number of boys out as well. Four lads out at the moment, and the new lads coming in are still bedding in. So when you look at it's difficult in a night like this, but when you look at the overall picture, then yes, there are still some positives to be had there. And at the end of the day, we kept a clean sheet in the second half. We kept going, kept in the game. We created some chances which we might have done better at. As I say, we're disappointed that we never showed the quality that we know we possess. But we've got a game quickly on Wednesday, so that's a good thing potentially, because you'll see how the lads react in a couple of days' time. We don't have to wait around for the next tie. We've got one very quick, which we need to be ready for.
Okay, right, cheers. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Is that alright?
Right, from last week, the business end of the game that we were both at. I think we promoted it quite a lot and had a lot of banter with it, obviously, which I think both the clubs got involved with as well. So, yeah, very entertaining game. Obviously, the result, Kelty Hearts won 3-2. Not quite to the prediction I was kind of goaded into making last week, but yeah, Kelty Hearts win.
Yeah, so obviously BSC home game, really big game for the club, given that the results haven't been absolutely brilliant at the start of the season. It's had a really tough start. Same with Kelty, right enough. Neither team's really kind of going to get all the points they would have wanted to get, I suspect.
Agreed, yeah.
But before we get too deep into it, first things first, we have some words from Tam Courts and firstly from Stephen Swift. So we'll get the manager's reactions and then we'll get right to it.
Right, so what did you think about that out there? Wasn't as expected.
Well, you know what, when you've lost my main striker before the game and then I've lost my captain, Ross McNeil, the kind of the fear setting is in because we're not defending well at the best of times, never mind without your captain, and obviously your main striker not being there doesn't help either, but there's enough, I still believe there's enough quality to actually cause them problems, which we did at times, but when you keep gifting goals the way we're doing, then it's just impossible to win football matches. Last year I think we had the best defensive record in the league, and right now we're just miles away for that, and it's unfortunate because I mean there's some good boys in there. We believe we built a good squad, but it's just not happening now, and it's a horrible place to be in as a manager. But I believe I've got resolve as a football manager, and being there as a player at low times, you've just got to keep working hard. There's no magic formula. It's just the old cliche of working hard. You know what I mean? So if we keep working hard, hopefully it'll turn. We've just got to take one game at a time. We can't think about leagues or anything like that. All we've got to do is think about a game at a time and try and get back in the mix. And if that takes us somewhere, then so be it. But we've just got to make sure we get kind of recuperate as quick as possible.
Perfect, thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Perfect, just to ask what you thought about the performance there for your point of view for Kelty Hearts.
I thought the game was quite frantic. It was end to end. Felt like we were very, very dangerous in the attacking third. It's exactly how we're kind of set up for us to be, and it looked like we can actually score it well. Anytime we hit them on the counter attack or had a wee bit of sustained possession, and at 2-0 we're fairly comfortable in the game. But then the penalty incident happens. No complaints over that. And then we have to show a wee bit of kind of resilience and a bit of cohesion and essentially try and stay in the game. So it was a performance that certainly kept me busy on the sidelines in terms of participating, being kind of tactically aware and helping them, supporting the players. But I thought they were well worthy of the victory today.
What have you thought about the Lowland League coming in as your first? Are you exceeding expectations, or are you
I think we are
on track for?
Yeah, I think we're slightly exceeding expectations, purely and simply because we have a reference point to last season, East of Scotland, where we had to acclimatise to a new league, a new style, new venues, new opponents, etc. And we're exactly the same again. So for me to come up against a team like BSC, who've got aspirations of winning the league, we're away from home. I thought the lads showed an enormous bottle and character and quality today to win the game. And BSC potentially were worthy of a point, but equally on chances, on danger in the final third, I thought we were pretty potent today and well worthy of the 3 points.
That's absolutely perfect. Thank you very much, mate.
To meet you, right?
You too,
mate.
Obviously, Tam quite happy with the result there, and obviously doing well for a team just coming from the east of Scotland. So, yeah, quite happy with the way they're going. Obviously, it was a very entertaining game. It was quite sort of frantic at points as well, but. I think if you just from a Kelty point of view, the starting lineup, we obviously had sort of talks throughout the week and before the game about how they would line up as such. I was a bit surprised to see Conrad Courts because I think that's his first league game he's started this season. Taylor Mackenzie's been doing fantastic. Scott Taylor Mackenzie's been doing fantastic. But it was interesting that he brought in the experience of Conrad to deal with BSC. And similarly on the at right back, obviously Gary Layton making his return from injury, in for Elliot Ford, who we did sort of speak about. I think yourself obviously mentioned the fact that Kelty, that's one where BSC could hit them like down the wings, because Elliot and Scott Taylor Mackenzie are both sort of still young players, still sort of learning their craft and stuff. And I thought if they did sort of take them on and whatnot, they could have joy. And in fairness, I think they did in some respects with the returning Gary Layton. Obviously, he's not had the most match practice, obviously being out from injury. But yeah, Kelty started fantastically well. Cargill with a header from a Stephen Husband free kick. There was a bit of a weird one with this, because I don't know. Obviously, I thought it was Kieran Chalmers that got the goal for some reason. It's where we were in the stand, I think. I'm going to blame it that. I'm blaming the narrow pitch as well. But I think I confused my 8s with my 9s. I didn't think we had too much of a good time at pre-match. I don't know. But having said that, for the second goal, it was Cargill again. Well worked. It was good seeing Ross McNeil, the young midfielder, sort of interplaying with Stephen Husband again to make it 2-0 under 25 minutes. But I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one to get the goal scorer wrong, I noticed. Our friend...
Is this where you start blaming football nomad Adam for that, yeah?
Well, no, it's actually our good friend Michael. He put Ross... Yeah, I saw on the BSC that he put Ross Much as the second scorer, and then corrected himself. So... yeah, it's definitely the pitch and the lack of tannoy. But yeah, it's 2-0 under 25 minutes, and I kind of mentioned that obviously Gary Layton coming back, it's such a big game for him to come back in, and he did obviously dawdle a wee bit with Adam Strachan for the penalty to BSC, and I'll let you take it from there, mate.
Yeah, so like obviously that gave BSC a way back into the match, given that Kelty were looking pretty good, pretty comfortable 2-0 up, and you could tell BSC were a wee bit suspect at centre back. They really missed Ross McNeil being there, the presence and the kind of the aerial prowess that he brings to the team. So Kelty were trying to basically have their way with the defence in a way, like getting the cross balls in and some really quality delivery as well, I've got to say. You mentioned Conrad. One of the things he was doing was getting right up the left wing and putting quality balls in, as well as some of the other boys in the team. But Strachan managed to win in the penalty, as you say. We got in after the defensive lapse, and it would have probably been a goal if he hadn't been brought down, so it made sense. Big Tamor managed to put it away, and then what I can only describe as the weirdest 5 minutes of football you'll see in the Lowland League this year at the start of the second half, where firstly managed to get it back to level pegging when it was Big Errol Douglas played a ball back to the keeper, and he tried to essentially be a midfielder and dribble it past, I think it was Strachan.
It was
again.
Adam Strachan, yeah.
Strachan got the foot in, got the ball, almost managed to miss an open goal by putting it towards the keeper. Got the ball back, he managed to put it away, and managed to he ran off celebrating, basically doing the few sign, which kind of said it all.
Aye.
And within about 2 minutes, again, another just calamity in the back, but this time for BSC, cross in, and big centre back comes off his head, hits the post. The goalkeeper thinks it's gone wide, so Marshall kind of just rooted to the spot, and big Scott Dale's there to tap it in. So if you've not had a chance to see the highlights, get onto Kelty's YouTube channel, and they always do a really good job with them. So you'll see what we're trying to explain here, because I don't think words will ever do it justice. This couple of minutes of football we were treated to, and the rest of the game kind of went as it'd been up to that point, without any major clear-cut chances, other than towards the end, Kelty, when BSC were throwing everything forward, had a chance where He was just offside, wasn't he?
It was. I think it was a handball. I think they were claiming.
Oh, it was a handball, right?
Because
Gotcha.
he got the ball in the net, and I think he was claiming it wasn't. It was very hard to tell, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like he sort of controlled the ball with his hand, but. I remember speaking to a gentleman who, because I was kind of questioning it as well actually at the game, and he said it was a handball. So
I just know that we were surrounded by Kelty fans who didn't agree necessarily with the referee or his linesman at that point.
Yeah,
so it probably made it a bit harder to work out what was going on.
Also, you kind of got a shout out at Kelty Hearts TV. I noticed. I don't know if you watched it back, but I think it was either. I don't think it was myself. I think it might have been. The football nomad, but all I heard was Mozza, Mozza, Mozza. So someone was shouting your name. So you're famous on Kelty Hearts TV, mate.
Checks in the post, Adam, mate. But yeah, just to sum it up, I know we've given pretty clinical breakdown there. The easiest way we can just sum the game up in a couple of sentences is that's the Lowland League at its best.
Yeah.
Because it was rough and tumble, it was quick, there was goals, there was entertainment, there was goal mouth scrambles, it was everything you want in a game at that level. And Adam actually said, I'm sure he won't mind me re-quoting him, especially if we throw a wee plug in for his blog that he's put his thoughts down on today, but the quality was impressing him. As a guy that goes around these grounds and sees teams all the way through the non-league, he actually said he was pleasantly surprised with not just entertainment, but the actual quality of the football on show as well, which bodes well going forward for, well, not just these two teams, but all the teams in the league.
Yeah, that's pretty much a decent summary of my feelings as well. I mean, really highly entertaining stuff. I'm glad we both went to the game. Obviously, it was a great day out. And just a shout out to Kieran Chalmers. I know I've kind of spoke to you about him as well, because he was obviously predominantly a centre back, but he's looking really good in that sort of midfield role for Kelty, and I think he did get man of the match as well. So he's doing really well as a young player. Obviously at Selkirk last season, so fantastic.
Obviously with Big McMillan being out, BSC also had a couple other players missing, and you saw the difference Stevie Murray made when he came on. He's just a burst of energy, and straight away he was making passes and very, very nearly setting up chances. So that obviously made a big difference. He's been carrying a knock recently, which is why he's not been playing. And big Martin Green up front is the other one. I keep saying big, it's all the big guys getting injured early doors, seemingly. But obviously Steve Murray isn't the big guy, but Martin Green, when he comes back in that BSC team's full strength, you'll likely see a different outfit when you put 1 to 11 out.
Yeah, agreed. So you were I think I quoted you as being distraught on Saturday.
I believe that was a quote. Fake news, I believe, was the reply.
But your other team, who we kind of we have a laugh with on this as well, because they got their first win.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what Rampant's very subtly trying to have a point to, Edinburgh University were at home to Gala Rovers, and Gala got their first win of the season, league-wise, with a narrow 1-0 win. And before we go any further, we've actually got the thoughts from Dean Shanks.
How did it feel to get your first win with Gala?
Oh, delighted. It's been a long time coming. We've had a lot to deal with over the last 3-4 weeks, but absolutely delighted for the players because their effort and desire to keep going through this wee run we've been on. And it was a tough game today, but we've came through it, so absolutely over the moon, and hopefully now we can build upon this.
So obviously, Dean's quite happy with the win. I can't go without saying the cake selection at Edinburgh Uni. I think that's hospitality and the Lowland League. I was like, I wish I went to that game now.
Well, I tell you, they've got their reputation for it now. It's always looked forward to, put it that way, by the away teams going to visit Edinburgh Uni. But in terms of the game itself, but I've been championing Gala as the best squad in the Borders this year, and I still believe that, just in terms of who they've managed to pick up this season. But with all these new faces, it naturally takes a wee bit of time to gel as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they do keep picking up points now they've got their first win on the board, because the first one's always the hardest to get, which is a cliche that just happened to be true, I guess. But no, from all accounts, they did deserve their win, albeit Edinburgh Uni did put a good fist of it together, as they always do under Dorian O'Gunroe.
Yeah, obviously quite late in the day with Chris Mitchell's goal, but it's good that they've got their first win. Obviously, I can tell you're overjoyed, mate. No, it's good that they've got their first win and off the board now. And the Lowland League is good. So we've not really had much to talk about the next team. Vale of Leithen 6-1 over Gretna. Probably the shock of the weekend, because that sort of just came out of nowhere, hasn't it?
That was a big eye opener, because Gretna have been pretty decent thus far in terms of the results they've been picking up, and Vale of Leithen did make a couple of improvements over the summer, a couple of signings, but I couldn't see this coming, I'll be honest with you. And it is a fantastic result for them, for a team that, well, I don't think we've really touched on them very much in the last couple of shows, because they've not made a big song and dance about what their plans are for this season or their aims or so on, unlike some other teams. Success for them will be staying in the Lowland League again, basically, but that kind of points to they might have a little bit more potential than in previous years to move up the table a bit further.
Yep. Well, they were 4-1 up at half-time, which is excellent. It was a bit of a crazy game from my notes. 4 penalties. Paul Dixon off Vale got a hat-trick. He scored all 3 of the penalties. Gretna unfortunately missed theirs. And obviously in the 70th minute, the Gretna keeper, Jim Atkinson, got sent off as well. But that was already at sort of 5-1. So it sounded like a crazy game, to be honest.
I'm not sure if there's a term for a hat-trick of penalties, but we can possibly throw that open to the people listening in to give us some suggestions for it.
Preferably something to do with Paul Dixon. I mean, you didn't see that very often, you know what I mean? Let's move on to Whitehill Welfare, East Kilbride. Obviously, Kilby, it was probably expected that they were going to get back to winning ways in from their cup defeat last week, but from what I've read, Whitehill gave them a game, and that's obviously good to see, because as we keep mentioning every week, Kilby will be up there. Craig Malcolm getting a goal in 2 minutes doesn't help your cause, and it's not obviously a great start to any match, but obviously our good friend who we mention almost every episode for whatever reason, 65th minute, he comes on, Ross McNeil, he scores in the 75th and the 85th minute to make it 3-0.
Does what he does every week. Although, like, we did talk about this game a wee bit more in depth last week when we were previewing it, and I think the two of us actually mentioned that Welfare will do what they can to obviously prove they're going to be competitive and try and steal something, and the fact that they conceded so early and then didn't concede again all the way through to the 75th minute is a good sign that obviously they are just fighting away, competing away, and they still believe that they're more than capable at this level. But we do have the thoughts from the dressing room in this one as well, so I'll throw it over to Welfare captain Scott Lucas to see what he thought of the game.
Hey Scott, we've just obviously lost 3-0 to East Kilbride. What's your thoughts on the game?
It's a hard one to take. We've worked hard, never really come away with anything. We're right in it for probably the best part of 75 minutes. We go from almost sticking Big Sean 1-on-1 with the keeper, to them going straight down the park and scoring, making it 2-0 and almost killing us off, boys. Worked really hard. We're not a million miles off it, and we just got to go again Tuesday. Gala's going to be our bread and butter games for us to try and pick up points. East Kilbride are a really good side, so don't be too hard on ourselves today and come out firing on Tuesday, really.
And also with a good winning in the cup last week against Hutchie Vale, you can see the boys are putting in a lot of effort and good performances, and hopefully that'll just come over the next few games. We'll start to see the points going on the board.
We can never fault the effort of the boys. We've got a good hard working dressing room. We've started the season poorly, but I honestly don't think we're a million miles off it. Just wee bits of luck here and there can change anything.
East Stirlingshire at Dalbeattie Star. We talked about how that would probably be a tough game for both teams. Dalbeattie Star 2 tough away fixtures in Edinburgh the last couple of weeks. So from what I read, I mean, Shire actually gave them a game, but Star took their chances. Scott Milligan and Dean Brotherston got the Star goals. One of them, which I read, was pretty decent. Last 15 minutes, we talked about this last week actually, about Shire. Never say die attitude, and last 15 minutes, they've done it again. Got it back to 2-2. Andy Rogers and Ross Allam. And Ross Allam, funny enough, is competing quite competitive with Hilby's Craig Malcolm for top scorer at the moment.
I mean, you might not have noticed this from last year, because I don't know if you had a look at the scorelines and the way these games went last year. But when Shire went down to Dalbeattie, it was very, very similar, to the best of my knowledge. If I'm testing the old grey matter now, but I'm pretty sure it was 3-3 or something similar, and it was Dalbeattie took the lead and Shire had to launch a comeback. So you expect some thrills when Shire go down there, and again they've given us exactly what we thought they would. But it's good to see Dalbeattie have clearly taken a step on from where they were last season, struggling at the wrong end of the table. And yeah, let Shire keep going, but they won't want to drop too many more points if they've got any designs on competing for the title again this season.
No, definitely not. Just on Ross Allam, we did have the engraved banana last week. I think this is going to turn into a thing, by the way. Do you want to describe the couple of pictures that Shire released on their Twitter this week?
I think Shire are officially competing for the banter title of the Geosonic Lowland League. Whether they're winning it or not, it's up to yourselves. But yeah, it was an interesting choice of furry jacket, shall we say, for Ross. I think it actually belongs to Moses, not to Ross, right enough. But yeah, all sorts of Photoshop. So if you're into that kind of thing and into your memes, go ahead and look at the Shire FC Twitter handle. But yeah, the less said the better about it, I think, and I'm sure Ross will thank me for swaying his blushes that way as well.
Well, have you had any sort of bad choices of clothing while you've been at the football or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has. Anyone that's been to Broadwood for the first time, for example, and not taking a jacket, you're lucky to leave without frostbite. So that's maybe the only place where the Ross's jacket would be acceptable.
I think the worst one I've had, I think I was a teenager at the time, and I had been on a night out with my girlfriend at the time, and I'm pretty sure I only brought a shirt, and I forgot I was playing in an 11s match the next day, and I had to wear one of her t-shirts to the game.
Nice.
So not ideal. I'm sure it was busted or McFly, so I got a bit of pelters for that. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Just an update from Sunday's game, Edisport and Stirling Uni. It finished 1-1. Kieran Hall got the equaliser quite late on from Stirling Uni, and Edisport got their goal through Scott Ferguson. There was a bit of a debate between both clubs whether it was an own goal or not. My record of picking goal scorers this weekend has not been great, so I'll let you guys decide. Get yourself over to Edisport's and Stirling Uni's Twitter pages, and you can watch the goal from there. Right, so that leads us into another action-packed week of fixtures. We'll start with Wednesday's games. We've got 3. We've got East Kilbride versus the University of Stirling at K Park. Difficult one.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we don't need to keep going on about East Kilbride. Everyone will know that by now that we very much rate them. University of Stirling, though, will be an interesting one, because last season, when it came to the university teams, East Kilbride were a bit university challenged because they couldn't get a win against any of them. And if they'd managed to beat, if I remember rightly, it was Stirling in their final game of the season, they would have actually won the league, and they couldn't do it. So Chris Geddes will no doubt be pretty confident that they can go there and again take something off them.
Yeah, definitely. Shire versus Vale of Leithen. That's an interesting one, given Vale of Leeson's weekend result. And, Edgesport versus Cumbernauld Colts, who will be wanting to get back to winning ways after their defeat against Spartans.
It's a tough midweek journey to go all the way down to Annan, right enough. So that'll be interesting to see if they manage to get through that one with a win.
So the weekend's games, as I said, quite a lot of them that we'll just sort of cover. East Stirlingshire versus Edgesport. Obviously, both of them have midweek fixtures, so I don't think anyone's really got an advantage there.
No.
Obviously, East Stirlingshire being at home again, I think that if they can get the win versus Vale, that could maybe push them on to getting another decent result against Edgesport, depending on what happens in midweek. And funny enough, Edinburgh Uni versus East Kilbride, you did touch on the University Challenge thing.
Yeah, and it's probably the hardest week of fixtures Kilby have had up to this point because of that. So it'll say a lot about them if they can come through those games with maybe even 2 wins, if not a win and another result there. I'll show they're ahead of where they were last year, put it that way.
Gala versus Civil Service. Obviously, Gala picked up their first win. Civil Service were actually in cup duty. I think 9-0. Yeah, they're doing well. But Gala did pick up their first win, and it is at Netherdale, so could be a decent game. Civil Service obviously had the last few Lowland League games at home. It'll be interesting to see what they can do away.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting fixtures that jumps out next weekend, purely because Gary Jordan's obviously had a great start to his time there. And if they can prove that they can go ahead and get results in their travels as well, you'd fancy them to push right up into the top 6 and maybe stay there the rest of the season.
Gretna versus Spartans.
A tough one to predict that, because Gretna haven't started well and then have obviously lost heavily away at Vale this weekend. It's always a different proposition at Radial Park, right enough, and Spartans aren't usually a free-scoring attacking team. They get the job done and maybe win 1-0, 2-0 a lot of the time. If things go to plan, I should say, because it doesn't always go to plan, as we know. But I guess Spartans will go on the favourites. But it's a really tough one to predict that.
And University of Stirling versus BSC. Obviously, we were at the BSC game. I was quite impressed with them, but Uni of Stirling, by no means an easy team to play as well. So.
Definitely not. I'll probably put my neck on the line here and say I fancy a BSC win, a bounce back win there. But again, I always big up Chris Geddes because he does know his stuff, and he does a great job. Him and Mark Hamilton and the guys there. It'll be again a really interesting result to look out for, and either team winning wouldn't be that much of a surprise.
Agreed. Vale of Leithen versus Kelty Hearts. They're away down to Victoria Park. That'll be an interesting game too, given that Vale of Leithen what they've done against Gretna. So, and Kelty Hearts, obviously we saw them as well as BSC at the weekend, and they looked fantastic again. So that could be another interesting one. So many interesting games, maybe.
But that's the thing with the Lowland League just now, because all these teams are very, very close in terms of what they can do in a given game at a given basis. So Vale of Leithen, if they can pull out that same performance that they've just managed there against Gretna, there's nothing stopping them taking something off of Kelty, let's be honest. I was really, really impressed with Kelty though at the weekend. Just they play as a proper team, they all know their roles, they're well drilled, and I think they're set for a good season.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously I've watched more of Kelty than the likes of BSC, but I agreed. You can just tell that they're going to be up there, and it's going to be difficult. The thing that's really good about Kelty, I think I mentioned it earlier, but obviously the fans that go from Kelty, that make the trips around different grounds, that gives Kelty a massive advantage. Earlier in the season, I think it was our first episode, I mentioned about the fans they took to Whitehill, and it was almost like a home game for Kelty because there's so many Kelty fans coming to the grounds. But it's good for other clubs too as well. So It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, obviously for the game we were at there on Saturday, the one thing that I didn't mention I probably should have done is a huge shout out to all the fans that came along from Kelty, because the atmosphere was brilliant in the Indodrill there on Saturday, and everyone was pretty friendly. I'm sure you'll agree as well, even though I certainly wasn't on the same kind of the same wavelengths in terms of who was wanting to win the game. But no, it's great when you've got such committed fans at Folly home and away, and yeah, that's it's really commendable, and hopefully it's something that other teams can follow suit with in future years.
Definitely. So our last game, it's another interesting one. Whitehill versus Dalbeattie, and it's over in Rosewell at Ferguson Park. So as I mentioned earlier, from Scott Lucas's comments, I think he felt that he could. They gave East Kilbride a game, so there's a chance that they could get the win at Dalbeattie, certainly.
I think both teams will fancy it. They'll fancy getting a result there, and these are the games that towards the end of the season will decide who's fighting away against potential relegation and who's going to feel a bit more comfortable going into the closing stages. So it's the old-fashioned 6-pointer type standard, isn't it? It's just Dalbeattie, with the start they've made, you'd fancy them to be okay, but that's going to be reliant on them getting the 3 points where they can.
Definitely. The way they've played, obviously, during the season, I did hear it was kind of like they did lose their discipline a wee bit against Shire. So I think that's one thing they sort of have to work on from the games that I've seen them in as well. But yeah, definitely a 6-pointer, as you say. So that kind of wraps it up. We only have your favourite segment, Mozza plugs, as Michael. So, where can people find you, and what else do you want to plug?
Well, I can be here for 20 minutes if you want it. Nah, as always, it's at Mozza Plays on Twitter, 2 Z's in there. But we should also, in all good faith, let you know about the Football Nomad, given that he came along with us at the weekend. So you can find him at Fitball, as in FITBA Nomad, on Twitter, and he put a blog up about the game the weekend if you want to have a read. And I'll throw it over to yourself so you can let everyone know where you are as well, mate.
At Rampant FM on Twitter, and obviously on YouTube as well. So another episode, mate. It's, as I say, every week, thick and fast. Yeah, the season's in full flow now. Obviously, it's coming up fast, and we're obviously going to try and get to more games and whatnot as well. So, but yeah, 5th episode next week. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. And we're very quickly going to get to the business end of things, because after the initial games are out the way and you start to get an idea where teams are going to find themselves and where things will shake out, it's only going to get more interesting and more exciting from this point on. So anyone listening along, again, give us your feedback, let us know what you think, and even if it is just a thought on your own team, and if we've missed anything that we maybe should have covered or you might like us to look at in future episodes, give us a tweet, or obviously feedback under the iTunes and so on. But otherwise, thank you very much again for all the support and for listening.
And just a further update on your Geosonic Scottish Lowland League games for Tuesday night. It was Gretna and BSC. It was a very entertaining game from what I've heard. It was unfortunately 0-0 though. Both teams hit the bar towards the end, but were unable to get the win. Gala won their second game 3-1 over Whitehill Welfare with 10 men, so that's a really good result for Gala. Kelty Hearts, Stuart Cargill continued his fine scoring form from the weekend, but it wasn't enough to see off Edinburgh University, who got a really decent draw at New Central Park, 2-2 on that one. Unfortunate wee bit of news, Selkirk have decided to resign from the Lowland League. Myself and Mozza haven't really discussed them in the last few episodes. We obviously discussed some of the issues they had in the first 2 episodes, but because they hadn't been playing games with match postponements and whatnot, we took the creative decision not to discuss them. So that wraps up episode 4 of the Lowland League Catch-Up. We appreciate all the support once again, and it was great meeting up with Michael Park and George Fraser for the first time on Saturday as well. We really do appreciate the support you guys give us, as well as everyone that listens, and it's also great to have clubs, managers and players involved. It's really what we sort of strive for. We want this to be pretty much a fair representation of the Lowland League, so we want pretty much involvement by every club if possible. Yeah, another good one. We will be back for episode 5, and I'll see you soon.